In Germany, the Green Party is giving its strongest signal yet that it's moving towards a so-called traffic light coalition. Addressing journalists, the party's co-chair Annalena Baerbock said talks with the liberal FDP and left-leaning SPD were progressing. After these talks, we consulted and came to the conclusion that it makes sense to now talk further with the FDP and SPD in more depth, she said, especially in view of the common ground that we were able to establish in these bilateral talks. The Greens' other leader, Robert Habeck, said the party was now proposing three-way talks with the other two parties, but admitted differences remained. Explaining that the talks had shown agreement was possible, particularly in the broad area of social policy, he also cautioned that a traffic light coalition was still far from a done deal. Despite the clearest indication yet that a deal with the SPD and FDP is possible, the Greens also recently reported constructive talks with the centre-right CDU. If a traffic light coalition were formed, it would make the SPD's Olaf Scholz Germany's next Chancellor.
Putting on a united front, that's the message European Union leaders hope to present as they meet for today's summit in Slovenia. A working dinner on the eve of the meeting was the first get-together since June, and a lot has happened since then. Afghanistan, the row over submarines and security in the Indo-Pacific, and there is always China. Asserting the bloc as a relevancy on the international stage is of the utmost importance.
Our unity is a very strong asset. Our multilateral approach is the DNA of the European Union, and when we succeed, when we are able to strengthen the European influence, this is good for the EU, this is good for the European citizens, this is also good for our partners, for our friends and for our allies.
But today's focus is mainly on the Western Balkans, with 6 countries to the bloc's east seeking assurances that one day they will be admitted to the EU club. Brussels is thought about to recommit to enlargement, but there are mutterings from the wannabe members about being asked to jump through hoops to receive an EU welcome. And of course, the talking goes on against the background of the COVID pandemic. Clashes between protesters and police over tough anti-coronavirus measures are not directly linked with the summit, but voter anger can rarely be ignored.
Since the Taliban overran Afghanistan, many girls have been forced to stay at home rather than attend class. After years of education, that's come as a cruel blow. This school in Kabul normally has 600 pupils. Since the Taliban retook power, girls and boys are taught in separate classrooms, and the girls are only allowed to attend primary school. In the upper classes, no girls are to be found anymore, and the headmaster doesn't see that changing anytime soon.
It's a very bad signal for our country, because half of the society is crippled now.
Zamila Yunus, the founder of the school, who runs a hair salon in Geneva, also holds out little hope.
The girls have to study at home because they're girls. They call the teacher almost every day and ask, when can we come back? She says it's not possible at the moment, so they continue to study at home.
The school's administrators are afraid of further visits by Taliban officials. They've already turned up twice, and the computer room has been converted into a prayer room. Joint head teacher Yasmin Atay says for her the visits to the school are stressful. She imagines herself facing them and it scares her. Yasmin keeps in touch with the older schoolgirls and visits them in their homes. 15-year-old Brezhna was asked when she last wore her school uniform.
It's been 2 months. I feel like I'm in a cage. Maybe women will no longer have a place in society. Now I'm staying at home. I'm just sitting here. I think girls will never be able to go to school again.